What's up guys, welcome back to Let's Play Fate Extella! As promised, we are continuing with the English PS4 version now that it's finally come out. I've had adequate time to test play it and it's where it needs to be. So as you can see there on the title screen, we have a new title screen now that we've started Tamamo's campaign. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Now that everything is in English and we can actually read and understand what's going on with the story, not to mention all of the menuing, I had a difficult decision to make in terms of how to continue the direction for this Let's Play. Since I am definitely synonymous with the Type Moon community because of all the panels and cosplay groups and the Facebook groups and everything, what a big huge fan I am, it would be a huge disservice to not talk about the story and show it off in its fullest extent in this Let's Play, because this game is very, very important to me. But honestly, a lot of the cutscenes definitely pad out the runtime, so I kind of had to pick and choose a fair balance here. So a lot of the personal conversations, especially the ones with Tamamo, I'm going to be editing out. And I know that may break your heart, some of you, but I had to pick and choose. So I'm going to be leaving a lot of cutscenes in, which is going to make for some very long videos. But I'm only going to be leaving in ones that are important to the plot. So a couple of things. I unlocked Artoria, so she is now playable, the Saber from Fate Stay Night and Fate Zero that we all know and love, the cash cow of Type Moon. We unlocked her. I'll be doing a separate video later, probably towards the end of this Let's Play, to show how to unlock her, but I had to unlock her right away when replaying Nero's campaign on the English version, because the English version of the game patched the conditions for unlocking her and made it easier. So I had to get her then, because we can now have her as a side character, and as she continues to complete side missions, our bond level with her will increase exponentially, so we'll get a good head start with her, even though we won't have her very well leveled. So Tamamo's My Room, as you can guess, is very Asian aesthetic, as is her stage, as I referred to it in Nero's campaign. It's also worth mentioning that Nero's campaign is called the Flame Poem arc, and this one is called the Blossom something arc, I believe. So those are the names of all three routes. So during all of these personal conversations, we have a dialogue option here, and depending on which one we choose, can potentially increase our bond with our servant. It's exactly the same as it was in Fate Extra. Although thankfully none of the dialogue options in Extella can dead-end you, which is very nice considering how I played it originally in Japanese. And that would have been awful if I was getting game overs based on the dialogue, which is the case in Fate Extra CCC, which is why I never finished that one. But I do own a physical copy of it. Hopefully you guys have seen it in some of my other videos. It's one of my favorite pieces of my Type Moon collection. I just noticed the dancing theater in there with the legs up in the air. Tamamo definitely has an interesting personality. So I'm going to be touching on a few things here as we go through the plot. Obviously, we can, like I said, we can read the dialogue. Our main character is speaking in, is monologuing to themselves. Basically, some of the dialogue is spoken to other characters. So we kind of have to pick and choose what is being said to the other characters and what is just her talking to herself. So for most of these cutscenes, I'm going to stay quiet. I may even not do a commentary track at all for these cutscenes, and then just chime in with the commentary when we start the gameplay, and then talk about some of the things that were covered in the cutscene during the gameplay scenes. So from what I understand, Xseed or perhaps Sony themselves put I guess a copyright block or something on the cutscenes for this game. So if you were trying to record this using the PS4 streaming option, the content in the cutscenes will not stream. It'll block it, and you'll only be able to stream the gameplay. So hopefully I will not have any repercussions for this, doing a proper Let's Play of it and recording it through my external capture solution. Now, I did have to use the same HDMI splitter for the PS4 as I did for the PlayStation TV to record the Vita version for the previous videos, because it turns out the PS4 has the same encrypted HDMI, and so I wasn't able to receive the signal until I did that, but it was no big deal. I was able to I was able to finish Nero's campaign on Friday and start recording over the weekend, so everything is all set and ready to go, and I'll be uploading these every once in a while. Alright, so Tamamo has discovered how her regalia works, and that her master can be kept inside of it. Very sort of sensual dialogue there when it comes to the servant and master talking about what it feels like for her to be inside the regalia. It's kind of weird. Anyway, so Tamamo, she is obviously Tamamo no Mai was one of the playable servants you could play as in Fate Extra, along with Nero, Saber, and Emiya Archer. And she is a caster class, which means she's going to behave a lot differently than Nero did. And this particular stage actually can be quite challenging your first time through if you're not prepared for how much different Tamamo is going to behave. And as you can see, we have the golden attack programs that are allocated to Nero, as opposed to like the blue ones that we were fighting that Extella and Tamamo have. So our triangle attack is a flame like that, and if we do our forward dash in the triangle attack, we do that roll in the flame attack like that, so that's pretty nice. I really like the little roll that she does when you do the dodge maneuver, the dash maneuver, and if you do a jump, you'll sort of do like a somersault through the air, and it's pretty effective means of traveling. Her regular physical attacks are pretty slow, which is definitely a downside to her, but if you hit X and then triangle once, you'll do like almost like a cat scratch attack, and then launch your enemy into the air, which I felt is pretty effective for attacking individual aggressors, which is the English name for these command unit type enemies. So all the terminology in the game has official terms now for the English version. I'm sure there were official Japanese terms for these as well, but I didn't know what they were, so I was using the best common knowledge, just logic that I could. And so certain terms that you'll hear me use in the Vita version videos for Nero's campaign are obviously incorrect, but it was just going off of my extensive knowledge of Mosu games and, you know, basically what these things typically mean. So I was basically moving through Nero's campaign in Japanese version just off of common sense. But now I actually have the facts. So we're actually dangerously close to losing the entire map right now, so we need to go ahead and take back the sector and make sure we don't lose it. Again, at the top it shows the likelihood of what's going to happen based on whether or not an area is currently being contested. So the area we were just in was being contested, so they had a potential to gain 4 points. We didn't want that to happen. Huh. Fantastic. Just my luck. Alright, so time for a boss battle against Archer! So that was quite a twist, actually. I love his little entrance there as he just dives in and then he cocks his head to the side. It's awesome. I also really love his character model in this. It looks so much better than it did in Fate Extra, and it actually looks like he's holding his swords. And the painstaking detail I went through to make his swords in real life for my cosplay props over and over and over again, I can definitely say that they look on point in this game. So obviously a few distinctive differences between this one's controls and the Vita version is that it's R3 to lock on to an enemy servant, similar to how it was on the PlayStation TV, but the prompt it was giving me, because it knew I was playing the Vita version, was to use the touchscreen for that. And then things like using your Noble Phantasm and using your Regalia form change, which they call the Moon Crux in this one, is just R2 and L2. It's not, or R2 and L2 respectively for each maneuver. It's not like L1 and X to use the Regalia like it was on the Vita version, because there are no lower shoulder buttons on the Vita, so they had to compromise. But that was actually a very effective means of compromising. So Tamamo has a few other attacks. If you hit X twice and hit triangle, you do a flamethrower type attack, which can be swept across other enemies. So obviously we talked a little bit about Archer in Nero's campaign, but I'll be talking about Archer extensively when we get to play as him later on. So the move he just used right now, he just used his gauge, and as you can see, his swords increased in size and became very jagged. That's a particular attack that he's known for, and I don't want to butcher the pronunciations of the swords that he conjures with that, so I won't do it. But they're not Kancho and Bakuya. There's a different name for the large version that he does there. So you would think Archer would be a natural enemy of Caster, which is usually the case. Usually Archers are very effective against Caster classes. And I feel like in reality this would be the case, but obviously you have to keep in mind that Tamamo is much more powerful than she should be because of the Regalia. So keeping that in mind, we finish him off with a tornado! Alright, so all the prompts there on the bottom actually give us accurate detail as to what's going on. Most of those things are just kind of commonsensical. Like, it's amazing how much you can just kind of sleepwalk your way through the Japanese version without knowing any of this terminology, and then when it gets explained to you, you know a little bit better about what's going on. So, for instance, there it showed at the bottom that, you know, Archer was defeated and he retreated. He wasn't entirely destroyed. So we'll have to fight him again later on. That's an indication about the future events. So we increased in level a few times throughout this map, and we unlocked the tornado attack. So we didn't have that at first. So I probably lost a couple of topics there. I'm trying to stay on track, but there's so much that I have to explain. It's ridiculous. But yeah, all the terminology has been updated for the English version. So these big enemies are called aggressors. The enemy spawners are called plants, as it says there on the top of the screen. And in order to conquer the map, we have to fill in what they now call the regime matrix at the top. So the regime matrix is what fills in at the top when we get all the points, all the keys to complete the map. So that's going to be a much more simplified way of explaining that, to just say we need to fill the regime matrix. So that's what that is at the top there. So we're actually getting pretty close. So the enemy still does have a significant advantage. They're all over the map right now. So we're going to need to fight back against Nero's forces. And she's sending out Gawain after us, which means we're going to unleash our regalia. Go, Tamamo! Man, as awesome as the regalia, the Mooncrux transformations looked on the Vita version, they look that much better on the PS4 version. They look really amazing. And I want to reassure you guys, Tamamo's regalia is OP as shit. It's really powerful. So unfortunately, Gawain is not going to stand a chance here. Now Gawain is regarded as one of the most powerful Saber class servants in Type Moon. And he increases in power with sunlight, and that'll come into play later on in Tamamo's campaign. But we're just wiping the floor with him here because the regalia is, they say later on in the plot that the regalia is one of the most powerful weapons in Type Moon because it's supposed to, I don't want to paraphrase this, but it's basically designed as like a planetary defense mechanism. I don't want to spoil anything too much there. Oh, we get a brief painty shot from Tamamo there. I didn't notice that while actually playing it, but yeah, Gawain is going to fall to that, definitely, and that's no shame to him at all. Gawain is fire elemental, as you can see, although we have some flames of our own sleeves as well, our very floopy sleeves. Tamamo also attacks with a mirror, if you notice. She has like little scripture things, and then she has the mirror. So, and then she just has her claws and her magic and all sorts of other goodies. So, I never actually played as caster in Fate Extra, so this is a great opportunity for me to kind of get to know her character a little bit better. I saw some of the scenes regarding her. I've watched another person's playthrough to watch all of the caster scenes and everything, so I'm familiar with her character. She's very yandere, which is a selling point for a lot of people. Her characterization is going to be a lot different than that of Nero's. In Nero's campaign, in the English version, I could kind of talk about the story a little bit there. Nero is characterized as pretty much how I described her, as in, you know, she's putting on a big performance, she knows that she's royalty, but there's a certain, like, cute innocence to her, where she's very upbeat and bright and well-spirited, but she also, you would think that she would just be like a complete slut, but in fact she's actually kind of shy, and but like I said, there's lots of sort of sensual, sexual interaction type of things going on with the master and the servant. This is the case in every route, but I felt like it was done well in Nero's campaign. It actually kind of gave me a whole new level of immersion into the story and the interaction between the two of them, and it really did make a difference to know what was going on during those dialogues. But in Tamamo's, Tamamo is just yandere and she does what she refers to as her harlot tendencies, which is where she just basically is incredibly possessive over the master and just says, I'm going to do what I want to you, and you're going to like it because there's no way you can resist me because I'm perfect. And I guess I can't blame Tamamo for that. I mean, she is pretty adorable, but Her character improves later on. I'm not going to spoil anything. So I really do like this flamethrower attack, and I didn't like it as much in the Vita version because I couldn't see how far away the enemies were as well because of the screen size. So if you can definitely get one of these aggressors into a corner and use it, it deals loads of damage. It's also pretty good at getting rid of the plants. That way you can... that's like one of the first things I do. You'll see me corner a plant and just flamethrower it to death. Tamamo's later moves are okay. There's her, like, if you hit X 4 times and hit triangle, that move, when we eventually get that, you're not going to see me use that a whole lot. Also, her jump and triangle attack is not a ground pound like it is for the Saber class servants like Nero and Extella. She just uses the flame in the air, which is actually... It's kind of counterproductive when you're used to being able to ground pound and hit an enemy that way, but it is actually pretty decent because you're able to flame the plants out of the air when they try to escape, so that's pretty handy. I do like her, the Extella Burst, as I call it in the Japanese version, is referred to as the Extella Maneuver, so I will try to keep that correct so you guys don't have to correct me. This map really is a lot of micromanaging, I do have to say. It's a lot of going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But there's a lot of nice details about the map that you could tell in the Japanese version. It's not anything new. But if you can see it in enough detail, so you can see where what I refer to as the cipher keys or the phantasm pieces. But we're about to pick one up right now, so I'll be able to tell you exactly what it's called. But yeah, even now we're still at risk of losing the entire map to Nero's forces. So this is a difficult map to start us off with. But it only gets harder from here, guys. Wait till we get to Attila's campaign. So let me see what this thing is called as soon as we pick it up. But yeah, you can see where they are on the map in a sector, so you can go pick them all up if you need to use your Noble Phantasm for anything, which we will eventually for Tamamo. Or I could just, ignore it, whatever. I probably should have picked that up, but I probably just didn't see it there, so... That's okay, we'll get it another time. We will be using Tamamo's Noble Phantasm, but eventually, and it's nice, but I want to have sort of a nice introduction, a nice reveal to that. But you can also see on the map where enemy servants are. There's a little icon for them as well, it's very small. And you can see how many points that servant is worth. So if you take out that servant on that map, in that sector will become worth more, and you will decrease the amount of points on the regime matrix that the enemy team has. So getting into a map and just wiping the floor with the enemy servants is one of the best ways to gain advantage, because servants are obviously incredibly powerful. So having a servant in a sector to conquer it is much more effective than just sending a plant with aggressors. So if your enemy's ability to conquer the map slows down exponentially if you defeated their servants. So for instance, with this map, I went and took out Emiya and Gwaine as soon as possible because they were going to be, if I left them alive and just started taking out the sectors of the map where they were not in, because it was easier, then they would just start catching up to me eventually and just taking over the sectors in my tracks. And you'll find a lot of this micromanaging and having to go back to different sectors to capture and everything is just a lot of wasted time if you don't manage that piece very well. So we're doing pretty good here. I have one more little point to get on the regime matrix, and hopefully I can just stop a invasion of one of my own sectors in order to create that, in order to create that scenario and prevent that from happening. But sometimes you don't get points for defending your own sectors, and sometimes you do. But like I said, there's a lot you can see on the map there. Actually, right now, looking at it, I can see all three pieces of the cipher key thing to unlock my Noble Phantasm, and I can see where the plants are on the map. And if you press start on the Vita, or if you press the center button, the touchpad button thing, I don't know what the hell that thing is called, on the PS4 controller, you can bring up your start menu, and you can go to battle data and actually look at where every servant is in each sector, what each sector is called. I don't know if I'm going to get the map from this. We'll see. Yeah, I don't think so. I think I've got to go to one more sector. That's fine. So, if I didn't say so before, the little yakisoba bread things there increase your health, and the wine bottles, or the sake bottles, whatever they are, increase your gauge. So, there will be a lot of situations where I will leave those bottles on a map that on a sector that I've conquered, and in case it gets invaded later, I'll just pick all of them up and just Extella maneuver all the enemies away. It's pretty handy, especially if you're fighting another servant and you use the Extella maneuver right away and it drops a bunch of those bottles, then suddenly you basically have fuel for the fire against that servant right away now that you've killed all the other enemies around them. So honestly, having a servant as a one-on-one fight is even more aggravating than having it where, oh, we lost some advantage there, so we're still not out of this yet, unfortunately. Took back this sector. Yeah, we're not getting anything for defending our sectors, but we should be fine. There's no more enemy servants on the map, so we should be able to, if you look, there's significantly fewer sectors that belong to us that are being contested right now, so that's not bad. Let me know what you guys think about my gameplay style. I try to use a variety of moves as often as possible, but sometimes it's just, I talked about this in Nero's campaign, it's just so much more optimal to use the R1 dash ability and the triangle attack to just clear out these small enemies, because they sort of, you can just combo them forever with your normal square attacks, but that's just so time consuming when you can just blow them all away and then increase the gauges that spawn in the aggressors quicker, because that's ultimately what you have to do. So it's like, the actual combos, unless you can create an AoE attack or some kind of explosive damage like that to knock enemies back and just take out big groups like that, but there's really no point in using any other type of attack unless you're attacking one of the aggressors, because you definitely need to combo into them because they have large health bars, the other enemies don't. So the regular attack programs fall easily to us. So I definitely like to use, there's a lot of special sort of tactics I like to use for conquering sectors. Like I said, if there are multiple aggressors that need to spawn in, I'll try to just kill the vanilla enemies, the attack programs, to get them all to spawn in, and then use the Extella maneuver to damage all of those aggressors that have spawned in. That way, I'm sort of maximizing my productivity with the damage, because if I just use the Extella maneuver on the regular enemies, and I still had, like, let's say there was some aggressors that couldn't spawn in until you've spawned in the rest of them, like some of their gauges were blacked out until you had a certain amount of them spawned in, it would be a waste, because those gauges would not increase past a certain, they wouldn't increase at all until until the other aggressors were spawned in. Sorry about all the in this video. There's just a lot of information to cover. And I've got a half an hour to do it, so it shouldn't be too bad. There's a lot to talk about in this game, and I'm really glad that this commentary seems to be going well so far. But there's plenty more videos to cover all this stuff. I'll try to talk more about the plot as we go. There's a lot of things regarding the plot I'll probably talk about as they happen. I'll let those cutscenes play out, and then during the commentary of the gameplay, I'll cover some of the things that happen in the cutscene. So this will generally be a spoiler-free Let's Play. If you are watching it in order, there won't be anything ahead that is spoiled, but I have already spoiled a few things from the game with Nero's arc by just kind of paraphrasing things about not knowing completely what was going on. I was surprised with how much I got right, just based on, context and characters' reactions and visually watching the things that were happening without understanding any of the dialogue. I was surprised with how much of the plot I was able to comprehend, but there's so much more to it than what I initially talked about in Nero's campaign. So, and just wait until we get to Attila's campaign, because Attila's campaign is very, very story heavy. So those are going to be some long videos. Probably more videos in total quantity than either Nero or Tamamo's. But Tamamo does have a lot of the same stuff that was established in Nero's campaign, story-wise, is also established in Tamamo, because obviously she has to have knowledge of what's going on with Archimedes, or what's going on with the Umbral Star and things like that. So it has to be explained to her as well. So I unfortunately had to take that sector that was worth 3 points there, even though I only had 1 point to go in the regime matrix, because I thought there was a possibility I could lose another sector. And sure enough, it happened. So right now, none of my sectors are being contested, but I did lose that one that was worth 4 points. So I'm going to go there now and conquer that one. And as soon as I do that, I should be able to... That should be it. That should be this entire map conquered. So... It doesn't look like there's a plant here, so I'm going to go ahead and kill this guy. Now, this will deal enough damage to kill him, and it'll also hopefully kill all the regular attack programs around him, and that way we'll spawn in the other 3. Pretty close, not too bad. And like I said, I left these bottles around everywhere so I can just go ahead and absorb them, and that way I can do another Extella maneuver on the guys who spawn in from this. And obviously your maximum gauge for your Extella maneuver increases as you level up. So it's going to become more and more effective as the game goes on. And the secondary, like the passive abilities that you can equip to your servant will increase. You'll increase the amount of slots you have for them depending on your bond with your servant. So if you manage to get those conversations correctly, then you're able to equip more skills. So that's where that ties in. But very similar to what I said about the items you can equip in Bossor, and I really don't think it makes that much of a difference until much later in the game, or if you're playing on the maximum difficulty, unless you just want to be really abusive and take advantage of some of the abilities you can get from that. Also, the actual abilities themselves that you find, or you actually find them in the environment as pickups dropped from enemies, so you find them sort of randomly. They're the orbs with the weird circuits coming out of them. That's what that pickup is. That's another passive ability like that, or install skill that you can equip onto your servant. So it's pretty random. I don't know why they decided to do it that way, but like I said, once you have them, you pretty much have them for every servant. You just have to have enough slots to actually equip them. So there's no really right or wrong way of getting those. So it's just whatever you decide to equip to your servant you think is going to work best for them. I think I showed on screen at the start of this what I equipped on Tamamo, so you guys can see that. Obviously the colors that match increase the percentage of efficiency with the ability itself, the passive ability. Alright, so time for a boss battle against Shuwen. So we're going to go ahead and use our regalia and kick his ass, because Tamamo does not have patience for this, and neither do I. So we're just going to do that, because I do not like Shuwen. I did not like him in Fate Extra. He was one of the hardest bosses for me to beat, and he actually made me do like he almost dead-ended me in Fate Extra as playing as Archer if it wasn't for the fact that you can reset the week and try it again, because I was not leveled high enough to have a certain ability to do enough damage to him, and if you don't do enough damage to him by a certain turn, he just outright kills you pretty much. He's such a dick, and that whole chapter is so hard to get through just because he basically, backstabbed you right at the beginning, breaking the rules and making it to where you cannot, you're hindered for like a couple of days, so you're already behind on your level grinding. It's really obnoxious. But that's Fate Extra, and this is a very different game, so obviously we don't have those types of difficulties. This might be the easiest Type Moon game in terms of gameplay to actually jump into and pick up, which I really do appreciate. Thank you, Marvelous. You are on point with this game, definitely, I would have to say. And I definitely appreciate that. So he's already almost defeated. Shuwen was a martial arts expert, I believe was not actually a real person, kind of like Sasuke. See, there's one of those power-ups right there I was talking about. But he is the assassin from Fate Extra. He has the ability of like he needs no second strike, supposedly is what they say, where he only ever has to hit you once and he kills you. So it's like the Kill Bill, the 5-point palm exploding heart technique sort of thing there. So one thing that's really aggravating about Tamamo's flamethrower attack is that enemy servants can counter it, which is really... We sent the Shinji after him and he blew it up. How aggravating. They can counter it, so you're in the middle of your chain and all of a sudden you see the bullet time, which means you're about to get countered, which is really aggravating. So, see, there it happened again. It happens to me over and over and over again, and I hate it because that flamethrower is so good against them. So, hopefully we can already deal damage to them and get them sort of entrapped in it, and that way it'll sort of keep them going there. So I could have gathered all those keys and used my Noble Phantasm against him, but I guess I'm glad that I didn't, because you guys can go Fuck off now, seriously. Why are you still doing damage to me after I've beaten the boss? It's not supposed to happen like that. Anyway, I could have used that, but I'm glad I'll be showing it off in a later video. We've had some more build up for it. Look at how cute she is! Alright, not bad. Got up to level 5 and learned some new abilities. Looks like everybody completed their side objectives too.